All right, here's a video actually talking about assignment number 11.4. Really interesting assignment in that it deals with, well, like musical forensics. You're given a problem and then you have to decide what kind of activity is taking place with the chords that you're given. Meaning you have to figure out what key you think it's in. If it's a circle, 5 to 1. And then now, there are a couple of other options. Any chord that goes from a 5-7, or rather any resolution from 5-7 other than 1, 5 to 1, is called a non-circle progression. So you can go 5 to 6, 5 to 2. Any of those would be considered non-circles. And then you've got another particular category in that not only might you do a non-circle progression, but you have to look at the possibility of, does the 7 resolve down or does it not resolve at all? And so that ends up actually being 3 categories. The first is, a circle progression and the 7th resolves down. That's your typical one. Then, and they're calling that A in the bend word. Then B is non-circle progression, a dominant 7 chord going wherever it's going, or rather, the dominant 7 chord resolving to not a 1 chord, but a non-circle. So, but the 7th still resolves down. That's called category B. And then you have category C, where it's same thing. 5 is not going to 1, it's going somewhere else. But the 7th itself either stays put and does not resolve down at all. That's the 3rd category, A, B, or C. On top of that, you've got to analyze everything that's there. The chord, both the chords, what key you think it's coming from based on the chords you're given. And right now it's either major or harmonic minor. And then the inversions of the chords themselves. So you have to do a complete analysis. So I'm going to give you a detailed view of how to do all of these particular assignments, but I'm going to give you example 1 is there done for you. I'm going to do that for you in this video. I'm going to go from example 1, 3, 5, and 7. So obviously that's on purpose. And then I'm going to switch over to the notated part, which I've already notated. So if you look at example number 1, first thing you're going to do, you got to analyze the chords. So what is this chord? There's an F sharp, a C, I'm going from bottom to the top, an A, and a D. If you were to take all those notes, the chord that you would come up with, because it's always going to be a 5. The first chord is always a 5. We just don't know what inversion it's in. All of these. But you have to take each note and see if you can create a chord and find the root. So if I went from F, and then I see there's an A, yes, and then there's a C, wow, F, A, C, but then the next note that's there is a D, that's not going to put my chord in root position. Then I might take a look at the next note, the tenor, C, try to build a chord from there. I can't even build a third, C to E, there is no E. Then I go to the A, which is the alto, and I go A to C, yep, there's a C there. Then I try to do another third, an E, and it doesn't exist, it's not there. So then my final choice, which obviously it's got to be the root, is the D and the soprano. I go D, the next third would be F sharp, okay, the next third would be A, and the next third would be C. So obviously D is the root of this chord. So that is a D7 chord, but D is not the lowest note. It's F sharp. So F sharp is what we put here. Now, that's a D7, D dominant 7, with an F sharp in the bass. What inversion is it? F sharp is the 3rd, so it's a first inversion chord. So it's going to be 5, 6, 5. Okay? Now, we don't even know if it's a major or minor key because we've got to look at the next chord to find out what the chord is. So you always analyze the chords themselves before you put those Roman numerals in or determine a key. So the next chord looks like it's G, B, G, D. And that very quickly creates a G major chord. Okay, G, B, and then there's a D there, so I already have a triad very quickly. Now, that G tells me that there's a D7 going to a G major chord. Well, I can't be in a minor key because it would resolve to G minor if it was a minor key. So now I got my key. The key is G major. The 5, of course, is going to be a D. And now my chord at the end is a G major chord in root position. So then, if you remember the different possibilities, there was A category equals circle, 7th resolves down. Then there was B, non-circle, the 7th resolves down. I'm just going to put 7th resolves. Then we had C category, that's non-circle, 7th doesn't resolve. All right, so which of these are we dealing with? Well, 5 to 1, that's a circle. So we know that it can only be an A. And then what we looked for is the 7th to see what's going on. And so what is the 7th of D7? You got to look at the notes and figure it out. The 7th is C. And where's it going? Resolving down. So therefore, category A is the correct answer. That is a 5-6-5 going to a 1 in the key of G major, and A is the type of resolution that it's dealing with. All right. And I know that you can kind of go back and look at the video again to see if you understand that information. But what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go ahead to the next one so that we can figure this one out. All right. So number 3 has these intervals, these notes. E flat, I'm always doing it from the bottom. E flat, B flat, G, D flat. So if I can build a chord from E flat, there is a G, that's a 3rd above. There is a B flat, yes, and a D flat. Wow, I've got root already. E flat is the root of this chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that chord up there. It's E flat, dominant 7. And all of these first chords are dominant 7s, everybody. He's not trying to fool you. So E flat is my first chord. Okay? And so I'm going to put 5, 7 because that's root position. Then I've got to look at the next chord. Well, here's an interesting situation. I've got an F, an A flat, another A flat in the alto, and a D flat. The reason I'm calling that D flat, everybody, is that D flat stays. I don't need to put a flat in front of that note in order for that measure to keep it as a D flat. So, because I do not have a key signature, usually these are all divided by double lines here. So that chord, if I started on an F, I can go F to A, but then the next note should be some kind of a C, and there's no C. Then I'm going to go with the tenor, A flat. I go A flat, again, no C, no 3rd. My next note, alto is an A flat. We've already explored that. Now I go to a D flat. D flat's the highest note, but I'm going to see if I can stack them up in 3rds. So I do have a D flat, I do have an F, I have an A flat as well. So that means my root must be D flat. Therefore, it's a D flat chord, and it's a D flat major, D flat, F natural, and then A flat. But the bass note is F. So that's an inversion. Now the question is, what key am I in though? Because am I in a major key or a minor key? Well, a D flat, is there a D flat major in the same key that the E flat dominant 7 is in? So let's think about it as if it was a major key. E flat dominant 7 is the 5/7 of A flat major. And if it was, that would mean that D flat major, is that in the key of A flat? It is. It's the 4 chord. So we're going to put Roman numeral 4 here, but it's an inversion and it's a triad. So it is a first inversion for 6 in that particular key. So that's the correct Roman numeral analysis. And we figured out what the key was, because if it was an A flat harmonic minor, the 4 chord would be a minor chord. So it would not have that F natural in there. It would actually be an F flat, which would be really interesting. So anyway, now, oops, I'm not trying not to make those extra marks there. Now we have to figure out what category that we're in. Is it going to be the A, B, or C? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move us down to, well, we know it's not a circle because it's 5 going to a 4. So it's got to be either category B or C. So it's a non-circle for sure, but now we have to look at the 7th. All right, what is the 7th of E flat dominant 7? It is D flat. And what is it doing? It's not moving. So that means the 7th did not resolve. So that's a non-circle with no resolution. That's category C. So A flat's the key. The chords are 5/7, 4/6, and the type of resolution is category C. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Number 5. All right, number 5 is a B in the bass, G tenor, F alto, and soprano is a D. So if we try to build the chord from a B, you got a B, you do have a D, and then you do have an F too. But then do you have an A there? No, there's no other note there. So then we're going to start on a G. That's the tenor. If I build the chord from a G, there is a B, there is a D, and there's an F. So that means my root is G. That is a G dominant 7. But there's a B in the bass. So it is a 5 chord, because all these chords are 5s to begin with, but it's a first inversion of G7. First inversion numbers, 6, 5 for a first inversion. All right, now let's check out the second chord. C, G, E flat, C. So if I build from a C, C, yes, a third up, E flat, yes, it's there, G, yes, so I've got a triad right there, a C minor chord. That's a C minor. So if that is the chord, then I've determined probably what the key is. G7 is going to C minor, and there's no way that G7 would go to C minor in the key of C major. It's the key of C minor. That is the key. I'll erase this so that it doesn't kind of interfere. C minor, is my key. All right, and it's going to the root in root position as well. So is it a 5 to a 1? Yes, it is. That's a circle. There's only one category for that. Is the 7th resolving down? The 7th is F. It is moving down 1 scale degree to E flat. So the category is A. That's the analysis of that particular example. Then finally, we have number 7. And so when we look at that chord, we got to determine what chord it is. Interesting. E, C sharp, G, A. Again, I'm going from bottom to top. So if I do E, I do have a 3rd, G, yes. But then do I have a B? I do not. So I can't start with an E as the root. Next, I'm going to go to a C sharp. C sharp, yes. I do have an E. I do have a G. But then the 3rd above a G would be a B. No Bs. Then I go to the G, which is the alto. I go G to B. There's no Bs. So I know that all 3 of those can't be the root. Then I go to A, and obviously it's the last one, but let's prove it. A is at the bottom, a 3rd up is C sharp, a 3rd up above that is an E, and a 3rd above that is a G. So A is definitely the root of this chord. It's A7 for sure. But we have to figure out what the bass note is. The bass note is E. So what inversion is that? That is the 3rd inversion. Not 3rd inversion, excuse me, 2nd inversion. So that would be 5, 4, 3, because that's those are the numbers for a 2nd inversion chord. Now we got to look at the next chord to figure out what key are we in, major or minor, because A7 would be the 5 of D major or D minor. So let's check out the next chord. D, D, F, B flat. So if I started from D and I tried to find a 3rd above that, an F, there's an F, but there is no A. So that can't be the root. The other D, we already did a D, so none of those 2 could be the root. Then I go to an F. I go F, I'm looking for an A. Again, no root, or no 3rd. So then B flat, again, it's going to be, B flat is going to be the root, but we prove it. B flat to D, yes, and then D to F, yes, they're both there. What chord is that? A B flat to a D natural to an F natural is a B flat major chord. But what's in the bass? D natural. So it is an inversion for sure. It's an inversion of a B flat major chord. Now that is how we figure out what the key is. Because remember we said that A7 could be the 5 of D major or D minor. Well, are there any B flats in the key of D major? No. Are there any B flats in the key of D minor? Yes. The key signature of D harmonic minor is 1 flat, B flat. And that's why there's also a C sharp in here, because that is the leading tone 7th. So that is the correct key. D minor is the key. The A7 with an E in the bass is a 5, 4, 3. And what is the B flat chord in D minor? It's the 6th chord, which is a major chord in a minor key, but it also is an inversion. So a B flat chord with a D in the bass is 1st inversion. So it's a 6th chord in 1st inversion. So then next, everybody, is, what is the category? Is it a 5 to a 1? Nope. So it can't be category A. Non-circle? Yes. So that's either B or C. So then we have to look at the 7th to see if it resolves. If it resolves, then it's going to be category B. If it doesn't resolve, it would be category C. So what is the 7th of A dominant 7? It's G. Is the G resolving down? Yep, it's resolving down to an F natural. So that means non-circle, 7th resolves, category B. So that means we have examples in all 3 categories. One was there were duplicates for the 5 to a 1. So hopefully, and these were taken right from the textbook, hopefully those examples that I showed you are going to give you at least a better idea of how to analyze the rest of the examples. Okay.